Everybody ready? All right, it's 5:30. We'll start the Mandan Public School District meeting for May 5th. It's Monday, May 5th. Is there any changes to the agenda?
I do have actually two changes. Letter F, I'd like to remove that from the agenda. We will not need an executive session. Both the administrators and teachers have ratified the agreements. But then I'd like to replace that with the real letter F, which is an open enrollment application seeking a deadline waiver.
All right, and I think the only other one is on June 26th on here. The regular school board meeting's at 4:30, so just if you're looking at the whole agenda. Any other changes? Seeing none, what are the wishes of the board?
Move to accept the agenda.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Peters. We have a second.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Hagen. Any further discussion, questions? Seeing none, Ms. Oval, please call roll.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Schuchart?
Yes.
Yes. Moving on, next item on the agenda is public communications. Anybody else in the crowd want to speak to the board? Seeing none, we'll move on to the administrator's report. The first item on the administrator's report is state assessment update. Dr. Just, welcome. Nice to see you tonight on this beautiful night.
Absolutely. Got some data to kind of report. So it's preliminary state assessment data. There will be a couple of changes as some kids get moved around at the shuffle at the end, but the window closed last week, and we had some information to share across different grade levels. First graph you see here is the ELA state assessment proficiency scores for elementary grades 3, 4, and 5 assess at the elementary level. And we put together these reports. These are all post-COVID scores. So if you think about it, 2021 was that post-March to May closure. So you'll see the 2021 scores, 22 and 23. In black, you'll see Mandan's proficiency rates, and in red, you'll see the state's proficiency rates. As you can tell, when we were coming out of COVID, we were sitting significantly below state average. And over the last 3 years, we've had a significant increase in our proficiency rate. Good data for the elementary folks, for certain. On the math side of things, similar, to be honest with you. Significantly below coming out of COVID, and saw some really nice increases over the course of the last 3 years. And so it's kind of what we've got going on. I pulled some pre-COVID scores. Pre-COVID, so that would be the 2019 scores. If you look at the 2019 scores, we were sitting right around state average, to be honest with you. And then coming out of COVID, we had a significant decrease, but in the last 3 years, we've made some nice jumps at the elementary level. Questions on that before I move to the middle school?
No, looks good. Questions, anybody?
It's good to see.
Thank you for, I was just going to ask you about the pre-COVID, so you read my mind.
Yeah. Middle school scores are not as positive, honestly speaking. We have not, this is the ELA scores. We've not seen the same type of increases at the middle school level. Some of this is, I actually pulled the pre-COVID scores as well. We were a little bit below. We're about 5 percentage points below state average prior to that in ELA. And we were right there with math. We're right on state average with math before COVID. The middle school has struggled a little bit more to kind of see that bounce back. And math, a little bit better scores. We were actually doing pretty well last year. We were above state average last year. Saw a little dip this year. We're right below that state average score. I've already met the Mrs. Tomlinson's team at the middle school has already met to kind of talk about some of these things. We have a new ELA curriculum we're going to be adopting next year at both the middle school and the high school. We're hoping some of those make some changes, and then she's looking to make some changes in her MTSS Tier 2 as well. We certainly have some things to address there. There's no doubt about that. Questions about the middle school scores?
All right. Questions? Go ahead. Turn it back on.
There we go. Chairman, Mr. Just,
When you say there's some things to address, can you be more specific? Are there
No.
specific things that are happening, or are there deterrents that are? Can you give any more context?
Yeah, I can. A couple of things that we have talked about when middle school team got together and we kind of talked through that. Some of it is these kids were coming. You know, you're talking basically collectively third, fourth, and fifth graders when they were in. And I'm going to go back to the ELA scores when they were in elementary school, and that's kind of that. Reading to learn sort of thing, kind of that sort of area in the ELA, and I'm not sure that I think some of those skills were lost. That's our conjecture right now, and so we're really trying to back up a little bit and focus on some specific reading strategies. As you move in ELA curriculum, as you move into the middle school level, it starts kind of transitioning from more of those reading skills more into writing. And I think we're going to have to back up a little bit with that group of students, to be honest with you. Those are some of the things that we're looking to do. And then, I mean, just the changes from elementary, where it's one teacher, to 6 teachers, and that makes a difference too. And I think some of those, the transition was difficult. I was actually looking at state assessment scores. We kind of resemble the state. We were a little farther behind before COVID, and I don't want to blame everything on COVID because we don't want to make excuses for our data either. We know we have work to do at the middle school level, but the whole state's kind of struggled at the middle school level to bounce back. If you look at state assessment scores in elementary ELA, you've kind of seen they're within 1 to 2 percentile ranks from the prior year. The same is true at the high school level, where at the middle school level, middle schoolers have been slow to make that bump up. And when they were in when the whole COVID thing happened, most of those kids were in upper elementaries. And so most of that's conjecture, but those are some of the skills that we're seeing are lacking, are really those understanding how to read sort of things. And then that isn't necessarily as much time gets spent on that in middle school because you start transitioning more towards writing skills. And so I think those are some areas we ought to work on.
Okay, that was really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Just
Yeah.
another quick question. Looking at that, is that indicative of results of virtual learning versus in-house? Or, I mean, you talk 7 percentage points behind the state average. That's a
Oh, it's
chunk.
a concern. There's no doubt about that. You know, I can't say for sure, to be honest with you, because most of these kids, for instance, most middle school kids were in elementary school. And so when you think about COVID, they were not doing the every other day thing like we were doing right away through that first year. You know what I'm saying? And that those kids, most of those kids have moved on to the high school level. I really think it's that matter of just some learning gaps in what was occurring at the elementary level and some work we have to do at that level. And then it's a different world when you go from 1 teacher to 6 teachers. It's trying to put in an MTSS process to address those specific needs of kids who have gaps at a secondary level is just much more challenging.
I have a question. The 2021, is that testing, let's say there were 7th graders. At 2023, that's a different group of 7th graders.
Yes,
correct?
that is correct. Yeah, you'd be right, Mr. Peters. That's a different group. That's not following the cohort group, you might say, the group of kids. It's following just the class.
And that actually leads me to a question, Dr. Just. Is this just 7th graders, or is this 6th, 7th, and 8th?
6, 7, and 8. At the middle school level, it's 6, 7, and 8.
So-
the whole building tests.
So did you break it down based on those 3 grades too? I mean, do you see it the same in all 3 grades, or is it?
There's a couple of grade levels that are pretty close to state average, and then we got one grade level that's got a little bit more work to do.
Is that not an 8th grade class, is it?
It's not 8th grade this year, no.
I was just asking, because they move to the high school, then it becomes an issue that we
Yes.
have to address
Yes,
there.
that is not an 8th grade class.
Okay. So we got a year to work on that group,
Absolutely we do.
or 2.
Yep.
We're peppering you with questions.
That's okay, that's-
I was going to hold mine until after the high school, but it's been quite a while since I've done anything with statistics. But, you know, we're seeing, yes, there's a gap of 7 points, but what's the standard deviation for the state average? Are we within 1 or 2? Or
You're right up on the edge.
Of one
of
standard
a standard
deviation?
deviation, correct.
Okay.
We're right up on the edge. It's actually a great question,
Okay.
and I love numbers.
I mean, that
so-
gives us some context of just how far
Yes.
out we are, because, yeah, we see it there, it's a
Yeah.
huge gap, but your scale is showing from a
Oh,
30-something
absolutely.
to a 50,
Yeah.
so.
7%, we can't hide from the fact that 7% is a significant difference.
Right, okay.
All right. Any other questions before he moves on to the high school? Okay. Thank you for allowing us to ask questions.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is fun for me. ACT, NDSA, at the high school level, our accountability assessment is the ACT assessment, and ACT proficiency scores come out later. That's why you're not seeing proficiency scores here, especially state averages to proficiency scores. What I was able to pull out of the ACT reporting site was math scores, ELA scores, and math scores just as averages. So if it gives you an idea, the state average is, you can kind of see, again, it's the same sort of concept. Black is high school, and the red is the state average. We had a dip last year. You're going to notice that at math as well. As I think Mr. Andreessen has reported this group, the high school was under transition. What I got to remember it again. TSI. Oh, targeted school improvement. Too many acronyms. And so saw some really nice jumps, even though ELA was not the reason that they were designated as a targeted school, but saw some nice jumps this year. A lot of those scores I was looking pre-COVID are pretty indicative of where we were at pre-COVID as well. To give you some context, where's it at? College readiness for an ELA score is about a 19. That's what's considered state proficiency. ELA scores, actually ACT doesn't have an ELA score. They have an English score, a reading score, and a writing score. And the way that gets determined, and the state has done this, is you take the average of the reading score, the reading score, the English score, and you take 3 times the writing score. To give you some context, the average of a writing score is a 6 because it's on a 6-point scale, a 12-point scale instead of a 36-point scale. So that's where the whole thing was derived from. That's why you get a 19 as an average. So what's considered college ready is a 19 and is what's considered proficient at the state level. And so you can kind of see, again, we got a nice curve there, but we've got a little bit work to do there in ELA. In math, we've had a lot of work to do for a little while, for lack of to state it better, but this year we saw some great growth at that level. We've been struggling in math at the high school for pre-COVID as well. We were substantially below the state average there as well. And we're right up against the state average, which is really good. To give some context for that, proficiency on the ACT is college ready score for ACT as well, it's 22. So that's the whole state struggles a bit with that score because it's pretty high. And so, because you can see by the average, but high school did a great job this year of really digging in. We did a lot of work with the high school staff to look for ways to improve in that area, and so they've done a really good job. This is a testament to their hard work. Questions on that?
Questions, anybody? It's nice to see that we're going up.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Justin. Go enjoy the rest of the evening now.
Yeah. It's nice outside.
All right, we'll move on to the administrator's report. Item B, which is the Heart River CTE update. Dr. Foshna?
Just like to report, Mr. Peters and Ms. Kazed were with us at a board meeting of the Heart River Board, which, if you remember, is board members from each of the member schools. We met on May 3rd, went through a brief agenda of a Zoom meeting just to kind of talk about getting the actual workings of the Heart River off the ground. I think we'd referred that was coming up last meeting. We talked about that. You will be glad to know that the board elected Ms. Gazette as their chair, so she'll be the chair of that board going forward. And really, we talked about programming, what initial program could look like, We adopted an initial budget to hire a director and an administrative assistant, and the board approved that, which we are looking at right now. We should be, we're closing on that position on Friday, should be doing interviews in the next 10 to 14 days. Was just going to met with Ms. Gazette before the meeting and reaching out to a couple member schools, see how they want to organize that. And then really the other big thing to mention was that we have some interest from our neighboring school in Hazen who might be willing to join our group. So really starting to get that process going of getting programming started for Heart River.
Any questions for Dr. Poshner? Not? Congratulations on your... All right, then we'll move on to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda tonight, we got review and approve previous board minutes from May 1st, 2023, accept the Heart River CTE May 2023 minutes, review and consider approval of the April 2023 bills, expenditures, and revenue. What are the wishes of the board?
I'd move to accept the consent agenda.
We have a motion by Mr. Peters. We have a second.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Hagen. Ms. Ova, please call roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. We'll move on to unfinished business. We have no unfinished business. We'll move into new business. The first item on new business is review and consider approval of the 2023-2025 negotiated agreement with the Mandan Education Association. Dr. Foshna.
I'd like to begin by saying, as of this evening, the Mandan Education Association ratified our tentative agreement. We did meet twice since the last time we met as a board. Your members, Mr. Peters and Mr. Horn, were instrumental in getting that agreement completed, and I want to thank both those gentlemen for having to guide me through that process and getting to agreement with MEA. I thought the process went very well. I thought we worked very collaboratively and together to get an agreement for both sides formed. Inside of your packet, you can see that. I provided you with a quick summary document listing the changes to the agreement. You'll see the top half of that is really more about language. We did some changes in Article 5, removing some antiquated language. Also in Article 5 for noon duty, we retained our $10 per period payment. That was 9 and 10 before, and since it was 10 last year, we kept it 10 for both upcoming years. We did a lot of work in staff substitutes. You'll see we changed the rate of pay in the high school and the elementary based on their those time increments. We had a little discussion and made a more substantial change probably in the elementary portion, dealing with when we do have a class, a graded classroom that cannot find a substitute, and we take those kids over one section and we split them over other teachers in the section. We try to set up some initial parameters of how we compensate those teachers for taking those additional students on for the day. I don't think that happens a lot. I think that's something we'll have to grow into. I don't think it happened but one time this last year. So I think that's something the board continue to work on with our teachers and how we deal with the lack of substitutes. Really, professionally, I don't think it's about this article. It's about trying to find substitutes and staff substitutes and get those people available for us. And we probably wouldn't even need to worry about this additional section. At both levels, we did provide an increased pay rate when staff members during their prep time do sub over 15 times. I will say we did some research, Dr. Bitts and I, just looking at the number of times that's happening this year. We do have the vast majority of our substitutes are people who are taking a lot of them. They are willing to take them. When we ask as leaders to say, are you willing to take a period here, a period there, we have a lot of people who are saying yes. I'll say we have a small group of people saying yes a lot. That'd be a better way to say that. So this is a way to kind of reward that for them. Article 8 is personal leave. We did increase their accumulated personal leave from 6 to 7, and then we did increase payments following the agreement. It's 1 year annual or $1 annually. Those unused sick leave payments go up, so we just incrementally, we followed the previous agreement. You'll see that for salaries, as we've kind of discussed before, we did agree to a $2,200 plus their step increase for each year of the agreement. So you can see the fiscal impact. I gave those to you, just a copy of Mr. Legacy's slides. Schedule B obviously will change because as soon as you change the base rate of pay, Schedule B rates change as well. So I entertain any questions. Again, MEA met this evening. My understanding by my text is they passed it unanimously within their group.
Just a question, what is our base starting salary now?
You're going to test me 51.3? 51.6.
It will be 51.6, assuming you ratify this.
51,600? 51,600.
600.
yes.
51,600.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions for him?
No, just comment.
Go ahead. Feel free.
I just wanted to commend everyone who was involved in the negotiation because this is really a wonderful piece of evidence of how functional and what a good system we have. And I'm just really proud to be in a place where everyone came together that way. And I thank the fellow board members who were there and the administrators and the teachers. It's really encouraging.
Yes, I agree with that. I mean, thank you, Ms. Peel. That is totally right on the spot. So thank you all for the hard work that they've done. Dr. Bitts, you have something you want to add? Okay. Look like you're reaching for the mic. All right. What are the wishes of the board?
I'd make a motion to accept the negotiated agreement with the MEA.
All right. We have a motion by Mr. Horn. We have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Gazette. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Ova, please call roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Schuchard? Yes.
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 Yes. Next item on here is the agreement with administrators to review and consider approval of the 23-25 negotiated agreement with the Mandan administrators. Dr. Bitts.
Correct. And again, I'd like to thank Mr. Peters and Mr. Horn. They sat in on administrator negotiations as well. We were able to finish in one meeting. I'd like to thank the administrators. They came in with 4 items on their list, and they were focused. They knew what they wanted. They came in reasonable, and we were able to get done in a relatively short time. One of the, just basically 3 points. The first one was unused sick days. Right now, when an administrator retires and they hit retirement age, we reimburse sick days at $85. That went up to $90. That hadn't been adjusted in 8 years, so that was one change. Relatively low cost for us, not a big deal. Number 2, we started with deans of students in the high school and the middle school. We then stepped that up to, we called it an AP2, which basically they worked 5 days more than a teacher. They were finding that didn't work real well for the team. The second administrator wasn't there when they needed them. We basically got rid of the AP2, and now we just have an assistant principal 1. So they will work an extra 13 days in the middle school and an extra 18 days at the high school. And they will just get their daily rate for that. And then finally, we increased pay by 4% in the first year and 3.5% in the second year. And it would be our recommendation that you approve this agreement as well.
All right. Any questions for Dr. Bitts or to the negotiating team?
I have some questions that kind of relate more to that comparison of, you gave us the percentages for the administrator increases, and then we didn't get those percentages for the teachers.
Yeah, the
So just
teachers,
for comparison?
the teachers were at 5.05% the first year and 4.84 the second
Okay.
year.
It's about in the middle of that schedule right above it if you look.
It
there.
is in there.
Yeah, if you-
Oh, there it is, and I just need to expand my screen.
Oh, no
Thank
problem.
you. Yeah.
Just so you had it for
Yep,
future reference.
and then, to bring the other comparison then, because in the table for the teachers, we have the average salary and benefits for the teachers in our district at 85.6 in the first year and 89.5 in the second year. I'd like to see that same calculation for our administrators. The percentages are obviously different, it's lower for our administrators, but the base is so much higher to start with.
yeah,
And so we want to keep an eye on that difference between
Yep.
what we have administrators, what we have as teachers, and that's the HR person in me just being curious about that, to keep an eye on that ratio as we go.
I can get that for you. I don't have that right now.
Okay, yep,
Yep.
that'd be great if I could get it. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Seeing none, what are the wishes of the board?
I move to approve the negotiated agreement with the administrators for 23-25.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Gazette. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Horn. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, Ms. Oval, please call roll.
Yes.
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 Yes, and I'd like to just reiterate what was said earlier. Thank you, Mr. Peters, Mr. Horn, Dr. Foshnot, for all your hard work, and also for the other side of the team, for everybody working through them professionally and getting these done, so thank you very much. It's nice when everybody can sit down and get through them pretty quickly. All right, we'll move on to the next item, review and consider approval of the following 23-24 teaching contracts. Haley Zacher, science at Mandan Middle School, Casey Miller, counselor at Fort Lincoln, Carla Berg, Spanish at Mandan Middle School and Mandan High School, Dawson Bechtold, fifth grade at Roosevelt, Elizabeth Stringer, math at Mandan Middle School, and Jennifer Hines, English at the high school. Dr. Bitts, and then when you're going through it, can you kind of tell us how many other positions we got open yet?
I can make it up. No, actually, it would be our recommendation that you hire these. I think we probably, they're going to look it up for us, how many we have open yet. I think we have a few left. I'm guessing that once we issue contracts, Mrs. Ova is going to send those out electronically tomorrow. We'll probably have a few people that don't sign their contract. That always happens, so that'll probably create some vacancies for us. I do want to make a note that we've been approving contracts now for a couple of months. Those contracts that we approved were issued under the old contract. They will be adjusted to the new negotiated agreement. So for all of those individuals.
Keep going. We're talking on this side.
All right.
I'll comment on that because I had asked Dr. Bitts, one of the contracts in here had a higher starting than the others at the same bachelor's, no experience. And I thought it was probably due to that. And I just wanted to clarify that for anyone who read the packet, that the new ones will start at the 51.6
All right, well,
without
good
experience.
catch.
Can I ask about the Spanish, was it the Spanish teacher? Yes, who has some work pending. Can you tell us about what that would look like and how confident we are that'll happen?
It's going to happen, but she just isn't done with her degree yet. So she doesn't have a teaching license yet, but she's graduating this spring. So it's,
She can't officially take the alternate license till after July 1. Okay. So it's tentative.
All right.
A quick question, then, as far as, so for the contracts, how long do they have to sign them?
They have 14 days from tomorrow. So we're going to send them out tomorrow morning, and they're going to be due is at the 30th of May. So
All right. Any other?
I would hope that, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Okay.
interrupt you, Mr. President. I would assume that most of them are going to sign before they leave on Friday, just so they have a long weekend and don't have to think about it. But we'll track them down that Friday and remind them that it's not in.
All right. Any other questions, comments? If not, what are the wishes of the board?
I would move that we accept these contracts, the new contracts for 23, 24.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Peters. We have a second? Second. We have a second by Ms. Ferris. I think, right? Any further discussion, comments, questions?
I would say we have 5 outstanding right now, 5 jobs open right now.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Silva, you want to call roll, please?
Yes.
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 Yes. And thank you for your work on sending out the contracts and getting them done here, Ms. Silva. Thank you. Next item, review and consider approval of the following administrator contracts. Callie Schnell, Director of Alternative Education. Dr. Bitts?
Correct. It would be our recommendation that you approve this contract as well.
All right. Any questions, comments on that one? If not, what are the wishes of the board?
I move to approve the contract for Callie Schnell.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Gazette. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Horn. Any further comments, questions? Seeing none, Ms. Silva, please call roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Next item on the agenda is review and consider approval of the following licensed letters of resignation. Beth Martin, grade 5 at Fort Lincoln, and Kylie Spencer, SLP, Mandan High School. Dr. Betts?
Correct. We have 2 resignations here. We'd like to ask you to accept them and thank them for their service to Mandan Public Schools.
All right. Any questions or comments on these? If not, what are the wishes of the board?
I would move to accept the 2 resignations.
All right, Mr. Peters has moved to accept the resignations. We have a second?
Second.
We have all kinds of second. Ms. Peel, I heard you first on this one. Was the second? Any further comments, questions? Before we do, I'd just like to thank both of these individuals for their work and dedication for the students of Mandan. We appreciate that. We wish you the best as you move on in your life. Thank you very much. Ms. Olva, you want to call roll, please?
Yes.
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 Yes. The next item, which was on the agenda, was to go in executive session. We aren't going to do that since the agreements have been approved for the Education Association and the administrators. So the item on there is an open enrollment, and Dr. Fashnan.
Board members, we have 1 open enrollment seeking a deadline waiver for present 11th grade students at Mandan High School they'll be moving to Bismarck and would like to stay with us.
Just a quick question. Is this for next year already?
This is for next year. Yep.
Okay. Just thought I would check in regard to that. All right. Any other questions? Not, what are the wishes of the board?
I would move to accept this open enrollment application.
All right, Mr. Peters has moved to accept the open enrollment application. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Haugen has seconded it. Any further questions, comments? Seeing none, Ms. Olva, please call roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is future meeting dates. May 27th, Native American Honoring Ceremony, 10 a.m. at Legacy High School. May 28th is graduation at 2 p.m. at the Star and Sports Complex. And please let Ms. Olva know or them if you're going to attend so they can have a chair ready for you if you're going to be there. And then June 26th, regular school board meeting at 4:30 p.m. at City Hall. And we will probably call a special meeting in between because we have a couple more agreements that we need to get done. Maybe looking probably the Tuesday after Memorial Day, tentatively. So we'll probably do that one at the call of the chair if that's okay with everybody. Just a heads up for you. Anything else? Any other meetings that should come up?
Could you clarify the June 26th time? It's 4 p.m. on this sheet, but I have 4:30 on my calendar.
4:30 p.m.
Okay.
It should be 4:30. Yep. All right, thank you. Nothing else? If not, the meeting adjourned.